Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, good. You guys can hear me. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, got stuck in traffic on the highway trying to get in here. It's 5:05. I'm gonna kick off the audit committee meeting. In attendance online, we have Mr. Young No. And then there are two other gentlemen. I can't quite see their names. Looks like a Sean Goodwin. And then somebody named Thomas.
Attorney
Tom,
Moore, at your service, counselor.
what's going on, Attorney Moore?
Good to see you as always.
Good to see you. And then Sean in the office is here. It's just me and him so far. And we're reaching out to see if other folks from the audit committee will be able to join. But I don't want to delay it any further because I do have a hard stop around 6:15.
Yeah.
Not sure how long. I'm not sure if we'll take all that time or not. But so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. No.
Thank you, Council. I just wanted to start off with the open session report, and that has to do with the athletic gate receipts follow-up review. As part of our audit process, we do a follow-up review on recommendations that we make during an initial audit. We had done this athletic gates receipts audit back in 2022. Just to give you a background, Springfield Public Schools generate revenue from the sale of tickets to athletic events such as football, basketball, soccer events. These athletic gate receipts generate approximately $40,000 annually. So as I mentioned, we conducted the audit in 2022, and we've identified internal control weaknesses primarily related to the handling of cash. So let me share my screen so I can show you the report that I'm talking about. So hopefully everyone sees my screen here.
Yeah, if you could do me a favor, if you could probably zoom in a little bit.
Okay.
Uh,
Is
yeah,
that good?
right there's good for me.
Okay.
And before we go forward, I just want to announce that my colleague, Counselor Zaida Govan, is on as well. Thank you for joining us, Counselor Govan.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So as I was mentioning, we did a follow-up review on the athletic gate receipts at Springfield Public Schools. These receipts pertain to the sale of tickets to athletic events. So I don't know if you've ever attended. I'm sure if you've attended some sporting events at Central and Putnam, you buy tickets at the gate to attend the sporting event. Tickets can be purchased online, but for our review, we excluded that aspect of the audit. So as I was mentioning, the audit was done initially in 2022, and we've identified findings primarily related to the handling of cash. So when I say issues with handling cash, we noted that funds were left unattended in the ticket booth. So where they collect the cash, and they usually keep it in a box. And we noted that these cashiers would often leave the ticket booth unmanned, or the box, the cash box was unsecured. Funds were kept in an unlocked locker. We also noted funds were stored in a trunk of a vehicle. And lastly, we noted that funds were taken home by personnel. So the audit resulted in 9 recommendations to correct these deficiencies. So as of January 2025, we noted that 7 recommendations have been fully implemented and 2 recommendations were in process. So I just want to focus in on the in-process recommendations. So I'll turn to page 3. And that has to do with safeguarding protocols to protect gate receipts. So they're still working on this. And we noted that they made some improvements, primarily making sure that funds are secured at all times and funds are placed in a locked bag when putting them into a locked locker for storage for deposit the next day. But we still noted that funds were being
Yeah.
commingled.
Can you increase it one more?
Yep.
Thank you.
So that's finding the three. Um, so as I mentioned, the safeguards to protect receipts still need improvement, and we came up with a new finding because at each athletic event, you collect cash, and you're supposed to lock that cash up and secure it. But what we were finding is that they were commingling the cash from different sporting events. So that makes it difficult to, I guess, identify any missing funds if you have, a one lump sum cash, um, in a bag. So we're recommending that they lock down that process even more by um, segregating cash receipts from each sporting event in a locked bag and making sure that they're available for deposit the next day. And the school department agreed with that recommendations, and they've already started to implement corrective measures. And the second in-process recommendation has to do with the recording of revenues in the city's accounting system. So they don't break down the categories from athletic events. So and they just lump them into one category called revenues from gate receipts. That makes it difficult to monitor how you're doing, the performance of the athletic event. So you want to know how much revenue you generated from a football event or a basketball event or soccer event and monitor that year over year so you have some visibility as to how you're doing. And if there's a significant decline or change, you want to make sure that you understand why that balance had changed year over year. So the school department did agree. They're going to work with the comptroller's office to develop categories for each of these sporting events. Any questions?
Yeah, can you just quickly high level go over the first two that were part of the 2022 report? I just wanted to see what they were.
So the first finding right here, we had to do with an employee having conflicting duties. So we noted that an employee in the business office did too many things. So when you have an employee doing too many things, especially as it relates to having the ability to record transactions as well as having access to assets, then there's an opportunity there to falsify the records at the same time taking the asset and without anyone knowing. So we recommended that there be another layer of oversight involved in that process. In particular, we recommended that the athletic director be aware of the revenues generated from each athletic event and compile that information and compare it to the reconciliation that this business employee was preparing on a weekly basis, so that he knows what the number of revenue should have been weekly based upon his own independent report.
Got it. Okay.
The second had to do with opportunities to improve the chain of command. So what we noted in this finding is that when cashiers were turning over monies to their supervisor, the supervisors were just taking the cash as is without verifying the amount that they received. So if the next day the supervisor counts the cash and finds that there's a shortage, the cashier could have said, "That's your fault. That's not my fault. I turned everything over." So there's no. They both need to be in agreement in terms of what's being turned over. So they both people need to be there to count the cash.
Got it. Okay. And then another question I had, as I'm not as knowledgeable, so it's good to understand, obviously, sounds like you're trying to itemize the receipts that we're bringing in. Give me a second. Want to add Counselor Allen should be joining us. So when you're talking about separating the cash, the revenue that was brought in from specific events to be able to kind of monitor what events bring what does this cash ultimately go back to? Like, is this just kind of like their own fund to support more athletics things? Like, what does the cash go towards?
It's in the general fund. It's not designated for anything. It's just funds that the city brings, the school department brings in, and it just goes into the general fund.
Oh, is that right? Okay. So I was just curious about that.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I think that's it for me at the moment. I don't know if Councilor Govan has any questions.
Yeah, I question regarding the general fund. Is that the general fund in the city or for the school department?
The city.
The city, okay. And we don't know what the total of that is?
So
Or
the ticket sales annually generate a little more than $40,000 a year. So it's it's not a lot of money, but it's some money, and most
right.
of that is in cash.
Right. And then you said you don't know what the sales are electronically.
No, oh, that we don't know, but we know
Yeah,
it's about $40,000.
40,000.
But most of it's in cash. Most of the sales are from in-person ticket sales.
Right. Okay. And that, does that include the concession stands or no?
No, it doesn't. Just the ticket sales.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, I was just curious, like, so it sounds like, what you said before was funds were being commingled. They rectified 7 out of the 9 issues that were highlighted in the 2022 report. And there's still 2 in process. So looks like we're making progress there. And I was glad to hear, that we're making that progress. And that we're also trying to identify, because I think it would be really good to know, right? Like what revenues are coming from what events. I think that's
Yes.
something that we should be tracking and itemizing and seeing how we're doing year to year. Like I know this is, high school, but I know at the collegiate level, right? Like what you sell and obviously professional sports, but that is, a big driver for at least in the collegiate level, in terms of wanting to make sure that they, sustain themselves in the college level, whereas the high school, you don't have to worry about that piece, but it's still kind of a really good thing to understand where a bulk of your ticket sales are. Are there specific games that have, I'd be curious to learn that because especially with some of our teams that are, have been, consistently really well, like the Central football team.
Yes.
I'd be curious just to understand that process because, and then I know this is not a part of the audit, but I'm curious down the road, are those opportunities for students to learn how to run these events from a separate thing? That'd be kind of an interesting.
Right. So we'll talk about this in a later session, a later
Okay.
session. But there are programs for students at the high schools in Springfield on running business programs or business activities. They're called student activities.
Yeah.
So there are various student activities at each high school, from I guess golf to Disney programs. So they range in various activities, and they do have elements of cash handling, and they have a student advisor to teach students on how to handle cash and how to go about the business enterprise.
That's awesome to hear. I also want to highlight our colleague, Counselor Victor Davila has joined us as well. Thank you, Counselor Davila, for joining.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. No.
So with that said, I will turn it over to Tom Moore on the next piece. The next piece of the agenda has to do with a cybersecurity review at Springfield Public Schools, which we need to discuss in executive session because there are vulnerabilities in this report that is not appropriate for public consumption. So I just want to point out that cybersecurity is the number one enterprise risk for any entity. So if your systems go down, the operations of an organization goes down. Well, you don't process payments, you don't send out bills, you don't pay your staff. So if everything is locked down with your system, you're basically at a standstill. So we do these cybersecurity reviews regularly. to identify holes in the city's protocols. And with that said, I'll ask Attorney Tom Moore to bring us into the executive session.
All right, so obviously, I just want to make sure that I have Councilor Govan in here, so I would ask Councilor Govan to make a motion to move us to executive session.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think the motion to be adopted would be going to executive session for the purpose of discussing deployment of security personnel, devices, or strategies with respect to the open meeting law. The exemption cited by our auditor is correct. We're allowed to go into executive session, discuss sensitive security measures or personnel. This certainly fits that category. We would note in our motion also that we don't intend to return to open session. That will be, adjourning the meeting in executive session as well.
Perfect.
Okay. So I will make that motion as Counselor Bonacati stated, for us to go into the executive session for the reasons stated, and that we will not be returning to this meeting.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We'll see you guys on the other side.